Hello everyone. So in the last class, I was discussing inductive effect, and then I discussed some questions in regard with inductive effect. And due to some unfortunate technical issue, I was not able to write with my pen tab, and that is why I wrote down the answers for you. In case you happen to follow up my lecture, so you can cross check your answers from here. You might pause and then cross check the answers. Okay, so now I'll be starting with a new topic of the same chapter. It's the extension of the electronic effects that we studied previously. In the last class, we studied about inductive effect. In this class, we'll discuss resonance. Resonance is another electronic effect. The purpose of resonance is to ideally to bring stability to a molecule, but in some cases, we'll see that the molecule of the chemical species it becomes unstable. So before we study resonance, I want to give a small recap about the potential. So we learned in physics or we learned in science that potential of a force field is given by V equal to K Q1 Q2 by R. This potential is due to electrostatic force, and Q1 Q2 are the two charges. Now suppose Q1 and Q2 might be positive or might be negative. There might be different combinations of the sign of Q1 and Q2. In case the sign of Q1 and Q2 happen to be same, that is both are plus or both are minus, then we get the product Q1 into Q2 as positive. And in case if one of them is negative and the other is positive, basically Q1 and Q2 are opposite in sign, so the product becomes negative. So we know that potential is high, that implies that the stability is low. So what we can say is that if two plus charges are at proximity or are near to each other, then it leads to instability. But if two plus charges are far away from each other, then it also leads to instability, but the instability is lower in nature. That means it is unstable but less unstable. And we can also see from this chart here, like I have jotted down all the possibilities, and if there is a plus and minus and it is near to each other, then the force of attraction increases. And I also mentioned in the previous lectures that the force of attraction basically signifies the strength of the stable, the nature of stability of the metal. More the attractive forces, the system gets more stabilized. More the repulsive forces, the system gets less destabilized. You can think of it as if the attractive forces increases, the system becomes more stable in terms that it will not break easily. But if repulsive forces are high, then it will break easily. So I have written here a very important observation. You need to note this, that low potential implies low energy. And now we will be dealing with similar charges in for the meanwhile, while discussing the stabilities of cations and anions. So we see that if the distance r, I am assuming that q1 and q2 are of same sign, that is both are plus or both are minus. Now if you increase the size, if you increase the distance between them, that is the r, if you increase the distance between them, then the denominator increases, and therefore the overall value of the fraction decreases. And we already know that q1 and q2 are same in nature, that is the sign is same, therefore the product is always positive. Hence, if we increase the distance between them, then the overall value of the potential decreases. And if we decrease the distance between them, the overall value of the potential increases. So we can generalize that in case of similar charges, if they are separated from each other by a far distance, then the system becomes stabilized. And if they're accumulated at a place, then the system becomes unstabilized or destabilized. So that is the basic nature in organic chemistry, and you will come across this everywhere. So I have tried to make you understand this same thing via a diagram. In diagram A, we see there is a file, there is a channel you might consider, and then I have shaded this portion. This portion I am trying to represent electrons. So these electrons are accumulated here. I'm assuming there are some x number of electrons, and the same number of electrons are also present in this channel, but this time the x number of electrons are distributed along the length of the channel. What this helps is that the distance, the mutual distance between the electrons, we all know that electrons are negative in nature, that is they have negative charge on them, and that is why all of them have negative charge and all of them are similar in nature. Hence, the more we can disperse the electrons, or the more the electrons are far away from each other, the more the system becomes stable. So what we can generalize from here is that if electron gets accumulated at some place, That is in the example A that I have taken. If the electrons become accumulated at a place, then the stability decreases. And in case of B, if the electron gets dispersed, that means the electron occupies a larger volume or is extended at a place, then the stability of the overall system increases. And I have explained it with the help of potential. Uh, so I think it is clear now that in case of stability, when you try to compare stability, one of the deciding factor would be how much dispersed the electron cloud is. Here we no more talk about a single electron. We all know that electron as a specific cannot be identified due to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and then later we came to know due to quantum mechanics and all that electrons are not discrete, they are electron clouds and all that probability. So basically you have to consider an electron cloud, and that is the reality. Electron cloud should be dispersed in order for the system to get stabilized. So this is the basic requirement, and in resonance we will study how an electron cloud is getting dispersed, not via sigma bond, but in this time the electron cloud will get dispersed via the pi bonds and the empty orbitals of the atoms involved in the species. Okay, so now let us understand the features of resonance. I'll take the examples of resonance and show you in diagrams in a while, but first let us understand the features of resonance, and this is the most important part that you need to remember while you are solving questions. So the first feature of resonance is that, like I said, that the electron's movement is absolute. Like in the example of inductive effect, what we saw is that the electron tended to get away or get close to some group of atoms due to their electronegativity. The basic nature of inductive effect originated from the fact that some atoms were more electronegative than other. In case of methyl group, we know that there is an electronegativity difference between carbon and hydrogen, and in case of carbon tetrafluoride or any heteroatomic species, the electronegativities might not match, and in that case there is a pushing and pulling of electron along the sigma bonds, and that was the basic nature and basic cause of inductive effect. But in this case, in case of resonance, we will see that the electrons are moving in absolute. What I'm trying to mean is that the electrons will move in reality, or they will jump or hop from one atom to the other. So we should no longer see electron as a discrete unit. Electron as a cloud has to be seen, and the cloud hovers around a group of atoms via resonance. So the first important point to note is that the absolute movement of electrons are involved in resonance, and that is why resonance is a permanent effect. What permanent effect means is that as long as the molecule will remain intact, resonance will happen. But in inductive effect, the inductive effect might not happen all the time, because the force distribution of other molecules around the molecule also depends on how the inductive effect is going to take place. Like there are London effect and there are other forces in nature that might hamper inductive effect, but in case of resonance, the resonance is a permanent effect. It's not it's not a temporary effect like the inductive effect. The third point that is to be noted is that resonance effect is not a distance factor. This means that I said in the previous lecture, in inductive effect, if we go away, suppose we are having a fluorine and carbon, and the distance between carbon and fluorine is increasing, then it's obvious that the fluorine cannot pull the electron cloud over the carbon to that much extent, due to the issue that the carbon and fluorine's distance between them is increasing. But in case of resonance, as long as conjugation is there, we'll come to know what conjugation is in a little while, but we can say that if the conjugation is continuous, then resonance will always take place with the same intensity. That means the intensity of resonance does not depend on the distance between the involved atoms. The fourth point can be said as, if there is a scope of pi bond electron to move, then it will always move to gain stability by dispersion and decreasing their potential. I just now said that the basic nature of electrons is to get dispersed, and if the pi bonded electrons get a chance to move from one atom to the other, then resonance will always take place. So these are the 4 points that I want you to learn by heart, or understand first and then learn by heart, because these are the very basic natures of resonance, and this will be needed while you solve questions. now we shall take an example of resonance and how it is taking place. So I've taken here a molecule, a very random molecule. I have not taken this as a very specific example, and it might happen with other molecules also. So what I want to show here is how resonance is taking place. So I have this molecule, and we can see that here is a double bond. A double bond basically means there is a single bond and then there is a pi bond. The pi bond is in a perpendicular plane to this sigma bond. You might be knowing this in chemical bonding, that the pi bond is always found perpendicular to the sigma bond. Now we have three axes, x, y and z. Suppose the sigma bond happens to take place along the x axis. So we are having two perpendicular axes to the x axis, that is the y and the z. So we can say that two pi bonds are possible if the sigma bond is along the x-axis. So if the sigma bond is along the x-axis, the other two directions for the probable directions for the pi bond would be y-axis and z-axis. So in this case, I'm not specifying any axis, but I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to make myself clear is that the pi bond is perpendicular to the sigma bond. And what happens, this pi bond here, this might shift to this between these two carbon. What basically happens is that this carbon is having an empty p orbital and this carbon is also having an empty p orbital, and these two carbons, one of the p orbitals are filled with electrons, that is forming the pi bond. And suppose this pi bond now switches over to this empty p orbital, then the transfer of electrons, the complete transfer of electrons happen from this bond to this bond, and consequently this bond gets broken and it shifts to this carbon. So I guess you have all done all of these things in class 11, and so I'll not be spending much time. I just told you how it happens, and once you can draw the resonance structures, and I assume that you know the very basic steps of drawing resonance structures. So when you draw the resonance structures, you get from here, if this bond breaks, then here it first there was a electron, and now the electron has gone from this carbon. That means that this carbon becomes positively charged, and here the electron was shared, but now this bonded pair of electron is solely upon this carbon, and that is why this carbon becomes negative. So we can see that the charge separation is taking place, and as the charge separation is taking place, the electron cloud is getting dispersed. How it is getting dispersed? We can see that the firstly electron cloud was between these two carbon and these two carbon. Initially the electron cloud was limited to these two carbon and these two carbon, but now after resonance we can see that this electron cloud has come over here. That means this electron cloud is also being shared by these two carbon. So if we combine these two things, if we combine these two structures, we see that the electron cloud overall is shared between this carbon, this middle two carbon and this side carbons also. That means this electron cloud is getting dispersed over this four carbon, this carbon, this carbon, this carbon and this carbon. This implies that the electron cloud is getting dispersed, and we already studied that the dispersion of electron is very much necessary for gaining stability, and that is why the resonance is occurring. And we can also infer from here that initially in the middlemost bond was sigma bond, but due to resonance we see that there happens to be a pi bond at some stage intermediate to these two structures. This means that in this bond at some point of time a double bond character originated. Why it originated? So that the electron cloud gets dispersed. We all know that's the nature of resonance, and that is why resonance happens basically. So we can say that due to resonance a double bond character is generated in some bond, and this double bond character helps in the dispersal of electrons. Here I have tried to give you a brief introduction to the reaction mechanism and its notation. It's not reaction mechanism actually. I have shown you how we show the movement of electrons. Suppose this red dotted side is the electron source. That means electrons are here at this site, and suppose electron wants to jump to some other place, and this is the electron target. So we show this movement via an arrowhead. This is called the barbed arrow. It is called barbed because the head of the arrow is pointed like this, and so the tail of the arrow originates from that place where the electron source is, and the head of the arrow goes to that position where the electrons will travel. So this is how we denote the movement of electrons, and here I have also denoted the movement of electrons like this, like the electrons in this bond are jumping to this bond, and then this bonded pair of electrons is jumping to the carbon, and that is how resonance is happening. The charge is getting dispersed and resonance is happening, and due to this resonance a double bond character is getting developed. Now what we need to understand is some nature or some characteristics of double bond. We say that due to resonance a single bond gains some double bond character. That is, the initially there was no electron cloud, that much dense electron cloud between two atoms, but due to resonance electron cloud appeared over there, and that created a double bond character. So double bond character has some specific features, and we need to understand them. Firstly, the resonance involved the development of partial double bond over a single bond, and due to the formation of double bond the bonding between the two atoms becomes more strong, makes the bond strength stronger. We can understand this very well, like initially between these two carbon atoms there was a single bond, and now suppose there are two bonds, obviously the strength of the bonding between these two carbon will increase. That is, the number of bond increases, the strength of the bond increases. That is very much understandable. And we can also infer that if the bond strength increases, then the length of the bond decreases, because we all know that bonds, when happen between two atoms, there is a vibrational force between the bonds, and that is why if the length of the bond is very much long, then the vibration will be longer. You can think of it as a stick. Suppose you have a very long stick and you start to vibrate it, chances are there that the stick will break very easily. But suppose you have a very short stick, no matter how much harder you shake it, chances are very less that the stick will get broken. In a similar way, there is a bond vibration energy, and we need not go much deeper into that. The basic thing what I'm trying to mean is that if the bond length increases, the stability of bond decreases, and if the bond length decreases, the stability of the bond increases. I'm repeating again, the bond length inversely varies with the stability of the bond. So in double bond character we see that the stability of the bonds increases. Therefore we can say rigidly that the bond length decreases in case of double bond character. So while making questions you need to remember also these three facts about the double bond character that is consequently getting developed due to the resonance effect. Now we shall take up a very easy question based on the fact that we have studied just now. So I have given you a molecule and you need to comment on the bond length A and bond length B. A is basically the bond between these two carbons and B is basically the bond between these carbons. Now in order to compare the bond length, we need to understand if there happens to be a formation of double bond or double bond character is getting developed between the bonds. We have already studied that if double bond character is getting developed over a single bond, then the bond length decreases as the bond strength increases. So we can see here that this pi bond and this pi bond are in conjugation with each other. What this means is that if this bond jumps over here, then this bond can get shifted over this carbon. So this middle bond might develop a double bond character and in some cases, but this bond, the single bond B, is isolated, it is deserted. That means that no pi bond can ever get formed at this place. That means this single bond remains a single bond throughout, but this single bond might get converted to a double bond when resonance is taking place. So we can say that this double bond character helps in decreasing the bond length of A. So bond length of A will be less than B. This is the first answer. Similarly, the bond strength of A will be more than B, because I said in few earlier moments that the bond length and bond strength inversely varies. More the length, less the strength of the bond. Now we shall discuss the conditions for resonance. That is, how will you understand when resonance will take place and when resonance will not take place. That is the structural features of the molecule that will help resonance to take place. The first and foremost important thing to look for in a molecule is alternate sigma and pi bonds. If you happen to find alternate sigma and pi bonds, it might start with sigma bond, it might start with pi bond. So this pi bond is followed by sigma bond and then pi bond and then sigma bond. You might see it as a fashion like I have written here, sigma pi like this. So what we can say from here is that if this pi bond shifts here, this pi bond can shift to the next bond and this this pi bond can shift over to this carbon. That means there is a continuous chain reaction starting from this bond and ending at this carbon. If this kind of structure, if you ever come across, then you can be pretty sure that resonance will always take place. When it will take place, the first point is we need to check if there are alternate sigma and pi bonds. The next structural feature that supports resonance is written in point number 2. This point is similar to the previous point. The only difference is that in the first point where we were having alternate sigma and pi bonds, and in this case we're having lone pair, then single bond, then pi bond. So what can happen is that if there is a lone pair and after that there is a single bond, the lone pair might get transferred to the single bond, and then the pi bond might shift to the next carbon. I can show you with an example here is that I have taken a phenol molecule. This is a phenol molecule, this is a benzene ring, and along with it OH is attached, and OH is having a lone pair of electron is there. Actually there are two lone pair of electrons over the oxygen. I'm not going deeper into that. Suppose one of these lone pair gets transferred on this single bond. Firstly we need to understand there is a lone pair, then there is this single bond, and then there is this pi bond. So we can see that point number 2 is getting satisfied, that is a lone pair, there is single bond, there is pi bond. So what can happen is that this lone pair might jump to this single bond, and then this pi bond will shift to this carbon. Hence resonance can occur. And just the extension of this is that if there is not lone pair but there are negative charges. How there can be negative charges? Suppose by somehow I am removing this hydrogen. This hydrogen is getting removed by H plus. What this means is that the electrons of the hydrogen is being kept with oxygen and the hydrogen is removing as H plus. Like here, the hydrogen has been removed and there was two lone pairs previously, and then it is also having the electron of the hydrogen. So oxygen becomes negatively charged now, and then we are having this negative charge, then we are having this single bond, and then we are having this pi bond. So point number 3 is getting satisfied. So what now can happen is that this can come to this single bond, and then this pi bond might jump to this carbon. Again resonance can happen. So you have seen the first 3 examples, and now we will see example number 4, the condition number 4 and the consequent example. The example number 4 is that if we have positive charge, single bond and pi bond, I need to say you that in example number 4, if there is a positive charge, then single bond, then pi bond, then also resonance can occur. But I think I have written this order in the reverse order. It needed to be written in the inverse way, like if there was pi bond, then single bond, then positive charge, because I'm assuming that this is the left hand side is the origin of the electron and the right hand side is the destination of the electron. So the movement of the electron will start from this pi bond, and then it will move to this bonded carbon between these two bonds, and hence this can be written as another canonical form like this. This might be written like this, and the plus charge will be here. So you can see that this pi bond might shift to this bond, and then this cation is getting stabilized, and that is why the resonance is taking place. So this is another condition. I have written the order in the reverse order. It will be pi bond, then single bond, then positive charge. So these are the first 4 conditions, and the 5th condition, it cannot be said as directly as resonance, but it is similar to resonance. In this case we are having 2 atoms X and Y, and one of them is having a lone pair and the other is having a vacant orbital that can accept the lone pair. X can have a lone pair and Y can have a vacant orbital, or the vice versa. What can happen in this place is that if this X has a lone pair and this Y has a MTP orbital, then this lone pair can be shifted to this MTP orbital, and then a double bond can be formed between them. A classic example of this is BF3, boron tetrafluoride. We all know that back bonding occurs here. Back bonding, we study this under the name of back bonding in chemical bonding, but it can be considered as a form of resonance. So boron is having this MTP orbital and fluorine is having this lone pair. It is true that electronegativity of fluorine is very high, but it still back donates to this boron's MTP orbital to a very considerable extent, and hence this forms a double bond here. and that is why the bond strength between boron and fluorine increases than normal. So these were the 5 conditions. I want you to pause the video here and then go through these points and remember this point as per I have told you, because this is very important in order to solve questions and to identify in which places resonance will take place. And I might mention here that resonance is a very important thing in GOC and in organic chemistry overall, because this single effect resonance will control most of the reactions. So you need to understand very deeply how resonance is taking place and then move to the next chapters. It might be sounding very boring, but once you understand the very basic things about resonance and you can do questions on resonance, then I can assure you that you can solve most of the questions that come from the reactions easily. Now we are taking up some examples on how to draw resonance structures. I suppose that you should be knowing these things from your 11, since this is a crash course. I am not expected to teach you this from the very basic stuffs, but I have shown these 3 examples so that in case you forget or in case you forgot how to draw these structures, you can just have a quick recap. So I have taken this molecule CH3CONH2, and then our resonance can take place. Firstly, you need to understand why a resonance will take place, because you see here there is a lone pair, there is a single bond, and there is a double bond, and hence as I said, this lone pair, single bond, double bond, this satisfies the condition for the transfer of electrons. Like I said, if there is scope for the movement of the pi electrons, then it will move. So there is obviously scope for this pi electron to move, because if this lone pair comes over here, this pi bond will shift over this carbon, over this oxygen. So this is what it is happening. This is the structure of equivalent. This means that this structure and this structures are equivalent. Equivalent in the sense that this structure can be derived from this structure and this structure can be derived from this structure. That means they both are interconvertible and they interconverts amongst themselves very rapidly. That is, this structure is an amalgamation of this structure and this structure both. So after this lone pair drops over here, so we can understand that nitrogen's lone pair was lost, and that is why it's actually not lost, it is shared between this carbon and this nitrogen. Hence this nitrogen gets the positive charge and this pi bonded electron shifted over to this oxygen, so oxygen gets negative charge. Similarly, I have just replaced this NH2 with OCH3, but the thing remains the same. Firstly it was the lone pair of NH2 and now it is the lone pair of OCH3. That is the lone pair of nitrogen it was in the first case, and it will be the lone pair of oxygen in this second case. I did not explain it any further because these two are exactly the same, only the atom differs. Now what we can say is that suppose this resonance is taking place, let me name this A, and if this resonance is taking place, let me name this B. Now we can do is we can question you that which one will be more favorable, like the shifting of nitrogen to oxygen will be more favorable or shifting of oxygen to oxygen will be more favorable. That is which of these resonating structures is more stable, this one or this one. So questions like this might come and I'll take this up in a few moments. You just need to patiently listen to what I'm saying, and I'll take this up in few minutes. Before that, let me give you another example. Okay, I gave you this example while explaining. I have taken the similar example of phenol molecule and I have shown you how the resonance is taking place. So there is lone pair, then there is single bond, and there is double bond, and therefore the lone pair is jumping over to the single bond and the double bond is going over to the carbon, and it can again move to here, and there is a cyclic nature of this shifting, and ultimately the negative charge will come here, and since this oxygen's lone pair is dropping over here, so double bond will be formed and oxygen has lost its lone pair, so it will get positive charge. So I have written a very general thing over here so that you don't get confused why and when which atom is getting positive charge and negative charge. So I have generalized it. You need to remember this, that the atom that donates electron becomes positively charged. It's quite obvious because it was having an electron and now the electron is lost, so it becomes positively charged itself, and the atom that accepts electron becomes negatively charged. So if you remember this statement, so you can easily identify, like, the oxygen's lone pair was transferred, so oxygen is getting positively charged, and this extra pi bonded electron is shifting over to this carbon. That means that a carbon is having an extra electron, that is why it's becoming negatively charged. You can remember it like that. It will help you in drawing the resonance structures. Now we can classify, like in inductive effect we had the plus I and minus I groups. Plus I were something that were pushing the electrons away, and minus I were pulling the electrons towards themselves. In a similar manner, plus R and minus I group are also classified. You might not be getting direct questions here, but questions like classify a group of compound, or classify a group of units into plus R and minus R group, that might come in WBG. So you need to know what plus R and minus R are. So plus R are those groups that act as the source of electron in resonance, and minus R are those groups that accepts electron from the source of electron during the resonance. This means that the origin of the electron movement, from where the electron is starting to move, that might be considered as a plus R group. Like in the previous example that I took of phenol, the oxygen lone pair was getting shifted to the benzene ring. This means the oxygen lone pair is giving away its electron. That means this oxygen is acting as the source of the electron. This means this OH group is acting as a plus R group. But it might have happened that there was some positively charged group, or some other configuration. Due to some other configuration, the electron was getting transferred to that group. Classic example would be nitrobenzene of minus R. Let me draw here. The example would be like this: nitrobenzene, NO2 plus. In this case, the benzene ring will donate the electron pair to this nitrogen. This means the nitrogen is having deficiency, and the nitrogen will be pulling the electron towards itself. Then this NO2 group will be called minus R group, because this NO2 is acts as the destination of the resonance. That is, it will accept the electron pair. And I have given some example of plus R and minus R group. Plus R group are those that are having lone pair. It is quite easy to understand, because if they don't have lone pair, how will they give the electrons? So groups like that are OCH3, OH, NH2, NR, and there are many other groups. I have given you just some example to make you understand. And in exam you might be given some other groups, so you need to understand which one is plus R or minus R. How will you identify what are plus R? That will be having lone pair. I have dealt with that in the next slide in much details. And minus R group are those that will be accepting electrons, so it can be NO2. This is NO2 plus actually. If you draw the structure, we'll understand that the nitrogen is positively charged. It is having a formal positive charge, and any positive charge of that nature, it will act as a minus R group. That is, it will accept the electron pairs. And in general, we can say if there is a group G, this G is not any organic functional group, but a generic name for any group. This G might be OH, this G might be OCH3 or NH2, it might be anything. So I have generalized this. If there is a group G attached to the benzene ring, and if this group G has the characteristics as the atom in the group G that is attached to the benzene ring should have a lone pair of electron. That means if G is having a lone pair of electron and it is attached to the benzene ring, then G will always act as a plus R group. Like we saw the example of OCH3, OH, NH2, NR. These are all groups are having lone pair of electron over that atom that is attached to the benzene ring. In OH, you must mind it that OH is attached with the benzene ring via the oxygen atom, not the hydrogen atom. In pH, that is benzene ring along with NH2, the NH2 group is attached to the benzene ring via the nitrogen atom. That means the nitrogen atom's availability of electron is to be checked. So I have written it here that plus R groups are those atom, plus R group, the group G will be a plus R group if atom in the group of G that is attached to the benzene ring. This is very important to note, that the group's atom that is attached to the benzene ring should have lone pair of electron. If it has lone pair of electron, then it can donate the lone pair of electron to the benzene ring. Hence, it will act as plus R group. Consequently, minus R group are those that if the G group that is attached to the benzene ring is having that atom that is attached to the benzene ring, that is the oxygen or nitrogen that I was speaking of, if this atom doesn't have a lone pair and have a vacant orbital, These two conditions are necessary that the group becomes a minus R group. Let me clear myself up again. Minus R group are those groups where the atom of the group G that is attached to the benzene ring has no lone pair of electron and have a vacant orbital. This is very important so that the benzene ring can give electron to the group G. It is important that it should not have a lone pair, because if it already has some lone pair, then the benzene ring cannot give away the electron cloud to the group, because it is already having the lone pair. Now if it doesn't have a lone pair and it also has some vacant orbital where it can accept the electron pairs, then the benzene ring can donate the electron to the group, and hence the group will be plus R group. So schematically what we can say is that if the group is attached like this and if the electron movement is downward, then this will be a plus R group, and if the electron movement is upward towards the G, then this will be minus R group. Now we'll be learning about how to compare resonance between two species. This is important to note because some minutes earlier I asked that questions might come where you have to compare between A and B, which resonance is better one, which resonance will more likely take place. So in order to answer this kind of questions, you need to understand which resonance is more favorable. That means which order or which transfer of electron is more favorable than the other. In order to understand this, you should be able to compare a resonance between two species. So I have given you point in the order, and you have to consider these points as per the same order. I have given you 5 points, and the importance of this point or the priority of this point is from 1 to 2, then 3, 4, 5. That means point number 1 is more important and it should be looked first, then point number 2 should be looked, and then point 3, and consequently. So in the first point it is saying that resonating species are more stable than non-resonating species. So it is obvious, because resonating species have the dispersal of electron, and that is why the potential of the molecule decreases and the resonance takes place and makes the molecule stable. In the second point, we shall see that if the negative charge is being dispersed from a less electronegative atom to a more electronegative atom, then the resonance or the nature of resonance is getting bettered. What this means is that if suppose the resonance is taking from some target, from some origin to some destination, if the destination atom is of more electronegativity than the origin, then the resonance is getting better. So with the help of this thing, we can explain the first the example that we took earlier. It was, I think, after this example. So here I asked to compare the resonance of this resonance and this resonance. I asked which of these resonance is more favorable, which of them will take place with better ease. So in this case we need to note that in both these cases, in the first case the lone pair is getting transferred to oxygen, in the second case also the lone pair is getting transferred to the oxygen. So ultimately we are having O minus, but the difference is the origin. Here the electron is being transferred from nitrogen, and here the lone pair is being transferred from oxygen. So we know that the electronegativity of nitrogen is less than that of oxygen. So we can say that nitrogen was not that much a good keeper of electron. That is, it could not keep electron to itself in that much efficient way. But oxygen was already an efficient keeper of electron. But in the second case, oxygen is transferring its electron to another oxygen. And in the first case, nitrogen is transferring its electron to the oxygen. In the first case, therefore, we can see that from a bad condition, we are getting to a good condition. That means electron over nitrogen is less favorable than electron over oxygen, and in this resonance we are getting the same. That is, the electron cloud is transferring from nitrogen to oxygen, that is to a better place. That means the resonance is getting bettered, or it is being more suitable in the first case. So we can definitely say that this resonance, this first resonance, is a much better one than the second resonance. This is what the second point is all about. So I have written here a general order because these three atoms will come the most you come across the most in your organic chemistry study. So oxygen is most electronegative among these three, and then nitrogen, and then carbon. So obviously, so if the electron is moving towards oxygen, so it will be more favorable. This comes an end to the second point, and now I shall discuss the third point. The third point says that all throughout resonance is more favorable than partial resonance, and it is still more favorable than cross resonance. I have taken an example to convey this point to you. Suppose I am taking HCOO minus, and this O minus is can get transferred from here, and then this will move up here. So this is creating the structure, and in contrast to this, I have taken another molecule, that is CO. We are having the same molecule. Instead of H here, I am having an O, and this O can also donate electron in this bond, and it can the resonance has another direction in this left hand side. Initially this resonance direction was in this right hand side, and in the left hand side there was no resonance, but now resonance can happen from left hand side and right hand side both. Now if you look closely, what we can say that in the first molecule resonance solely occurred from the right hand side, but in the second molecule resonance can occur from both the sides. Does that mean that resonance is going better? To be honest, the actual thing is not the way you are seeing it. It's actually the reversed. That means if the resonance is happening parallelly from the right hand side and from the left hand side, we can say is that the oxygen, this topmost oxygen is having a higher negative charge over itself, that is the electron dispersion over this is increasing, but the resonance here and the resonance here are in contrast with each other. That means if the right hand side resonance occurs, the left hand side is blocked, because simultaneously it cannot occur. It's quite obvious that simultaneously resonance, the transfer of electrons from the left hand side and right hand side cannot occur at the same point of time. So if the right hand occurs, the left hand is getting blocked, and if the left hand occurs, the right hand is getting blocked. That means overall the effect of the resonance is getting decreased due to cross resonance. This is what we call cross resonance. This path of resonance is getting crossed by this path of resonance, and in overall what we can say is that the effect of resonance is decreasing. Hence this resonance is better than this resonance. The first resonance is better than the second resonance. I have written this down in words. I have written as A and B have cross resonance, that is if A happens, B is blocked, and if B happens, A is blocked. Hence the overall electron cloud at the top of the oxygen is decreased. So this is the example of the third point, that is all throughout resonance is much greater than partial resonance is much greater than cross resonance. What is partial resonance? Partial resonance means that resonance is happening at some particular point in a molecule, and all throughout resonance is that thing, that phenomena where the resonance is occurring throughout the molecule. Suppose we are taking phenol, or suppose we are taking benzene. In benzene the resonance is occurring all throughout the molecule. That means all the atoms of the molecule are involved in resonance. But in partial resonance, some atom or a subset of the whole molecule is taking part in resonance, that is partial resonance. So it's quite obvious that more the number of electrons, more the number of atoms that are taking place in resonance, more the number of sites where the electrons can move, and hence more the dispersion and more the stability. So it is obvious that all throughout resonance will be more stable than partial resonance. Point number 4 speaks that more number of canonical form increases the stability. More number of canonical form stems from the idea that the more number of canonical form there is, the more dispersion of electron cloud there is. That is, if the electron is getting transferred on say n number of molecules, and then suppose the electron is getting transferred to some more than n number of molecules, so obviously in the second case the electron is transferred to more number of molecules, hence the dispersion increases and then the stability increases. So in 4 we can say more number of canonical forms increases the stability. And in point number 5 we can say that the equivalent resonance structures are extra stable. What are equivalent resonating structures? They are such structures that are equal in nature. Suppose I'm explaining this with an example. We have phosphate ion PO4 3-. This is an anion, and suppose I've drawn the structure. We are having P double bonded O at the top, and then we are having 3 O minuses. And suppose any of this O minus starts resonating. If this O minus resonates and then this goes up, then we get this structure. But if you look closely, you can see that this structure and this structure, they are the same. That means that even after having the resonance, we are getting the same structure. In other words, they are equivalent. In this kind of cases, the resonance is being more stable. So whenever we'll find equivalent structures is being formed due to resonance, then we can safely assume that those resonating structures are very much stable. So we have almost come to the end of this lecture, and in the last I want to take up this example, and this single example shall clear most of the doubts that were created. And if you have noted down what I said all throughout, go through the note once again and then try this question. Okay, so I assume that you have tried your question and you have given an honest try, and so I am discussing this question. So here the question was compare stability of these four structures. As we can see that the four structures, in all of them oxygen minus is common. That means we have to predict which of the structures the O minus is being the most stable. In order to do that, we'll take help of resonance and the theory that we have studied earlier. So in the first example, we see that there is a possibility of resonance, that is, there is a lone pair, there is single bond, there is double bond. So the possibility here is that O minus can drop this lone pair, and then this pi bond will shift over this oxygen. So in the first example, we are having a resonance from O minus to O minus. In the second example, we are having the same structure. We are having the same structure, that is, here is minus, then single bond, then double bond. So in the second example, this this electron, this lone pair, this negative charge can drop on this bond, and then this can go here. I'm not specifying the resonance orally that much. You can it is evident from these structures that I've drawn. This is the direction of resonance, and then we are having an O minus to C minus resonance. In the third example, we see that the third example was here. We see that the structures are almost similar. So the oxygen's negative charge drops here, and then we are having an N minus. And in the fourth example, we are having an O minus to C minus resonance. So this you can show this in a more prominent way, like it can go further in a cyclic manner, as I said, and then C minus will be eventually here in this carbon. It doesn't matter, because ultimately what we are getting is C minus. So in this fourth example, I have summarized here is that in the first example, initially it was O minus, and this was the final state O minus, and in the second it was O minus to C minus, third it was O minus to N minus, and fourth it was to O minus to C minus. So we need to understand how we compare stability. So I have given you that chart of 5 stability conditions, and in the order of first, second, third, fourth, fifth, you have to compare. So in the first example, it was that you have to compare that resonating species are more stable than non-resonating species. So here we can see that in none of these structures, O minus, the negative charge on the oxygen atom initially is not being accumulated on the oxygen, it is getting dispersed. So resonance is taking place in all the 4 options. So we cannot judge by the first option. So we come to the second option, that is the second point of the stability order. So in the second stability order, we said that that structure is more stable, where the dispersion of electron is taking place from a less electronegative atom to a more electronegative atom. So in this place, we can see that it is of same electronegativity, so there is no gain or no loss. But in this case, there is a loss. Why? Because oxygen was more electronegative, and it is the electron is getting transferred to carbon, so here is a loss. In this case also, here it was oxygen, and then it is nitrogen. That means it is getting transferred to a less electronegative atom, so this resonance is not that good. In the fourth example also, it is getting from oxygen to carbon, hence the resonance is not that good. So what we can infer from the second point is that the first structure is the most stable, and then the most probable one is the third one. Why? Because after oxygen, nitrogen is the most electronegative atom among these things. That is, nitrogen is more electronegative than carbon, so obviously the most stable will be this one, oxygen to oxygen, then it will be oxygen to nitrogen, because it is, although it is disadvantageous, but it is less disadvantageous than to transfer the electron to carbon. So we get 1 greater than 3 in terms of stability. Now to compare 2 and 4, we see that the first point is valid, the second point is also valid. Why? Because to oxygen, the electron is again getting transferred to carbon, and both the cases, the initial and final atoms are the same. So we need to look for the further ones. So in the next point, what we said is that we need to see canonical forms. More the number of canonical forms, or more the dispersion of electron cloud, more will be the stability. So in the in this 2 and 4, we can see that this will drop here and then this will drop here. So we are having a single canonical form. The other canonical form will be, here will be a double bond and then this bond will shift here and there will be C minus. But in the fourth example, like I said, there will be a cyclic resonance and this resonance will continue over other carbon atoms. That means the oxygen, this negative charge is being traversing all through this ring. It is traveling all through this ring. That means it is coming over more number of carbon atoms than the second one. Hence the dispersion is more in case of 4 and the dispersion is less in case of 2 comparing with 4. So we can say that the fourth one is more stable than the second one. So the final order what we are getting is 1 greater than 3 greater than 4 greater than 2. So the final order will be 1 greater than 3 greater than 4 greater than 2. And like how you can do the questions, and so you keep on practicing questions. This is enough. The theory is enough for helping you out in solving any kind of questions related to resonance. And I have taken some very basic examples. I have not discussed that much questions. I'll be preparing another lecture on resonance where I'll discuss questions. It will be based on questions solely, and once you have understood the theory lecture, I'm pretty much sure that all of you will be able to solve most of the questions that comes from resonance. Thank you.